What's up, guys? We're here at the Great Escape in downtown Nashville on Broadway. I'm going to ask some questions about Mr. Bobby Dylan.
So Yoga, you sell vinyl and CDs still,
Yeah.
right? Is it pretty steady sales on both of those?
Yeah, I mean, his CDs sell as soon as they come in, pretty much.
Is that why y'all didn't have any?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, okay.
all the stuff we're going to have at his is like the latest arrival.
Yeah.
It rarely makes it past the, people get out of there before we have a chance to stock it in the regular alphabetical section.
So you ever seen Bob Dylan live?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So
When was that?
I've actually seen him twice, both in Nashville. I saw him like 3 or 4 years ago at River Stages, and then I think that's what it was called.
How many people were there?
It was Slam.
Do you think they were solely there for Bob Dylan?
It was like 3 bands, like Bob Dylan and Black Crowes, but I would assume
Most
Bob
people were
Dylan
there.
there. Bob Dylan.
How much did you pay for tickets for that?
That might have been free. I
Oh,
saw
really?
him last summer with Willie Nelson. That was like $50.
$50.
But was like the variety of ages? How's that?
I guess that seems to be changing even more, like young people that wouldn't so much expect.
You seen that in the past few years or something?
Think there's a Bob Dylan revival going?
I'd say since he made Time Out of Mind, he's kind of, I don't know, he's husky and wise now.
Alright, so you don't sell any Dylan records here except for the ones that are already sold out?
Generally, we'll have like Nashville Skyline, which is obvious because that was a blatant, country fried album. Dylan recorded Blonde on Blonde here in Nashville. Then he had his motorcycle wreck in '67, and then in '68 he did John Wesley Harding. And then in '69 he did Nashville Skyline all here, and then he recorded a few things off and on. So he had a pretty thick association with Nashville and the musicians, and especially he was on the premiere episode of the Johnny Cash show. As far as his influence, everybody in the '60s, when Bob Dylan and the Beatles came along, all of a sudden it wasn't Moon, June, and Spoon lyrics anymore. It was somebody made it legal or legitimate to tell a story. And that old dude that can't sing, won a Grammy Award this year. So
As far as the age range goes, how often do you see younger kids buying Bob Dylan records, and how often do you see older people buying them?
when we do keep it in stock, it's a pretty good mix. You'll get somebody going, man, I had this album, when it came out on vinyl, and man, here it is on CD.
Have you seen Bob Dylan live?
I never have. Oddly enough, my 78-year-old mother has, and she saw him at a Farm Aid concert. She's really good at playing the senile little old lady, and she'll just duck under ropes and go backstage and wander around, and finally somebody will say, "Ma'am, you're not supposed to be back here," and if it was you or me, they'd physically pick us up and throw it. So she was wandering around backstage at one of the Farm Aid, and a security guy got a hold of her and said, "Ma'am, you really shouldn't be back here. Let me take you where you're supposed to be." So they walked along. All of a sudden, a trailer door flies open. A couple of guys come out, and this kind of scruffy looking guy comes out, and he lights a cigarette and yells an expletive to himself and throws the cigarette away and goes down the stairs, being led away to the stage, I guess. And on the way he's lighting another cigarette. So my mother said, "Who was that?" And the guy says, "Oh, that was Bob Dylan." So she went over there and picked up the cigarette that he threw away, and the poet of a generation, the genius lyricist of the 60s on into the 70s and on in today, lit the filter end of a cool. And until my ex-wife sold it on eBay, I had that until about 5 or 6 years ago. So that's my Bob Dylan story.